How in the world are you supposed to set work-life boundaries as a small business owner? Is that even possible? Or when I leave my corporate job and I build my business, am I now a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week slave to my clients and this business? I think that's what happens a lot, guys, right? We leave corporate jobs so that we can have all this freedom and take vacations and not work on the weekends to have like the freedom and availability that we wanted to have for the rest of our life. But then you find that as a small business owner, you are a 24/7 employee of the business. And now you're definitely not taking any time off. You're definitely not giving yourself vacations, or you're taking your laptop with you on vacation. You're answering client emails, customer emails in the evenings after dinner. You're on Slack during the week after hours with your team, nights, weekends, vacation time. All of that just gets sucked into what it takes to run a small business. So does it have to be that way, or is it possible to grow a successful business and have work-life boundaries? And if so, and I would say, hey, it's possible, then how do we do that? I have 3 basic things for you. But first, my name is Shay. I am the founder and CEO of Social Squares, a Styled Stock membership for female entrepreneurs. I have been in the small business entrepreneur game for a long time now, over 12 years. My husband is also a small business owner and entrepreneur, and we've learned a thing or two about setting work-life boundaries. We have kids, we have a life, we have friends, we want to go do other things. We don't want to work endlessly on our business, but hey, we also want to have successful businesses at the same time. And both of us have managed to grow multi-6-figure. His is been a 7-figure business as a small business owner with work-life boundaries in place, not working in the evenings, not working on the weekends, not working on vacation, taking vacation. So I've been around the block, done this a few times. What I want to do is I want to give you 3 simple concepts that will help you put work-life boundaries in place, regardless of the industry that you are in, okay? I would love it if you would download our 20 free images just to give you a little bit of help. If you are a female small business owner, then I would venture to guess that you need a lot of imagery, right? You got images for Instagram, you got images for Pinterest, you got images for blogs, you got images for digital downloads and PDFs. We are the experts when it comes to creating commercial quality imagery for female entrepreneurs. Me and my team have 20 free styled stock images for you. All you have to do is click the link to download them. Number 1 tool for setting work-life boundaries is that you have to decide in advance what your boundaries are going to be. And I know that that sounds simple, but more often than not, what happens is we don't really decide, when am I going to stop work for the day, for example. Are you stopping at 4? Are you stopping at 6? Are you stopping at 8 p.m.? When are you stopping? And if you don't actually decide that in advance, there is always, always, always going to be one more thing that you still need to do before you wrap up. If you've been a small business owner, then you already know that this is true. You have to decide in advance, when am I starting work? What time am I starting work at? You can start work whenever you want. You can start work at 10 a.m. You can sleep in until 9:30. You can start work at 12. You can start work at 8 a.m. You can start work at 5 a.m. If you're a morning person, that's the beauty of owning a business. You can decide, but you have to decide. You have to decide in advance, this is when my workday is going to start, and this is when my workday is going to end. Because again, the to-do list won't end. So you can't just keep working until the to-do list disappears, because it's not going to disappear. So you have to decide when your workday is going to end. Do you want it to end at 2 p.m. before your kids get out of school? When do you want it to end based on what your life looks like? But you have to decide, okay? You also have to decide what days of the week you're going to be working. Because listen, if you just kind of think to yourself, oh, I'm kind of hoping that I can take Fridays off and have a 3-day weekend every weekend because I am my own business and I can do that. There's still going to be work that comes in. Your team is still going to reach out to you. Your customers and clients are still going to have problems. They're still going to reach out to you. You're still going to get inquiries on a Friday. And if you haven't really decided for yourself firmly, then you're just going to end up working. So decide, when are you starting? When are you stopping? What days of the week are you working? Decide, like on paper decide, not just theoretical decide. Don't let your business decide for you or your clients and customers decide for you. And then what vacations am I going to take? Am I going to take a month off every summer? Am I going to take 2 weeks off at Christmas? Am I going to, what do you want to do? Do you want to take spring break off? What do you want to do? But decide in advance. So that's number one, decide. Okay. You're the owner. This is your business. You can do whatever you want, but you have to decide. Okay. So that's number one. Number two is then communicate that decision clearly to everyone that needs to know. Okay. There's a few ways that you can do this. For hours and days of the week that you're working, make sure that it's in your email autoresponder. You can also add that to your Slack profile. You can also change your Slack notifications. If you use Slack for your team, then you can change your notification settings and you can let people know that, hey, I'm available. For me, it's Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm available these days. And then my notifications are off on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or whatever your off days are. You can set that up in Slack, add it to your Slack profile so that everyone can see it. If you use Asana as a tool for your business, you can add it to Asana. You can put it under, if you have like a profile for yourself that people can access in Asana, put your hours in your Asana profile. You can set your Asana notifications. You can make it so that everyone else on your team can see that you're away. Our graphic designer that we work with, she takes Fridays off, or she doesn't interact on Fridays. I think she takes Fridays all the way off. And anytime I try to assign her something on a Friday in Asana, it says, Nicole doesn't work on Fridays. So it's very easily communicated in Asana. So you need to make sure that whatever you decide, and you're free to decide whatever hours you want to decide for yourself, that you clearly communicate them to your team. Don't be scared. Just communicate it to your team, to your clients, to your customers. Put it on your site if that makes sense for you. Put it in your email responder, put it in Slack, put it in Asana, put it wherever you need to put it. But you can't expect people to just magically follow your parameters if you have not clearly communicated it, okay? And the second part of that, which is like to be, is that you have to stick to those, because whether or not people follow your guidelines that you've set and respect your work-life boundaries is going to rise and fall on whether or not you follow your own boundaries. So if you have told your customers or your team that you're not working on Fridays, for example, then when they email you or Slack you, you cannot respond. I mean, you see where this is getting at. I know that feels really hard because you're like, they need me, they need something. And we'll talk a little bit in my third point about like how to mitigate that. But if you just keep responding to emails on your off days or after 5 p.m. when you said you're not going to work or while you're on vacation, then all you're doing is you're just reinforcing for people that, I wasn't really serious about that. Go ahead and email me. And that's not really what you want, right? Because you want to have work-life balance. If you're still listening this far, then I'm assuming that you want to have work-life balance. So that's like to be is communicate it, but to be is you got to stick to it. If you don't stick to it, you can't be mad when anybody else does, and you can't blame anybody else for interrupting you or reaching out because you have not stuck to your boundaries. So I'm giving you permission to just allow the email to sit. Don't respond to the Slack message, or you can respond and say, I will get to this tomorrow or whenever my next workday is. Thanks for sending this over. I'll think about this. I'll help you problem solve there when I'm back in the office at this specific time. That's on you, okay? Number three, third thing that has to be in place in order to have work-life boundaries, in my opinion, is that you have to work pretty far in advance, or at least decently far in advance. This really has to do with that to be point of, well, what if somebody reaches out and they have a question about an email that's supposed to be going out tomorrow and there's a decision that needs to be made or something's, not working relating to that. The way to mitigate those types of last minute emergencies, which I would venture to say are probably not often true emergencies, but the way to mitigate those last minute emergencies is if you and your team, if you have a team, work pretty far in advance. So for us, we have a small team, but there's 5 or 6 of us spread out across different states, even different countries. So what we have to do, because everybody has different hours of availability. They have different work days. They're in different time zones. We cannot have any styled stock image emergencies that come up because that's just not fair. We have to honor each other's work days and work times. So the way that we mitigate that on our team is we have to work pretty far in advance. For us, that means like working a month in advance, 3 weeks in advance. There's some things where we're even planned out a month or two in advance. So things are already in the pipeline so that there's time for any of those questions to be answered and kind of quirks to be worked out well in advance. It does not work for us, and things fall apart and get stressful when we're working really last minute. We're prepping an email today that needs to go out tomorrow, and then there's a question or there's some confusion about something or someone can't find a link, and that's when things get really dicey and people end up getting pulled in when they're not working and that kind of thing. So if you can really set up your own workflows so that you're working far enough in advance, especially with a team, you really can mitigate those like last minute emergencies, communication emergencies that sort of happen. So those are my 3 things. These are tried and true. I've been doing this for a very long time. I kind of alluded to this, but I work 16 hours a week. Those of you that have followed me for a while know that I run this company in 16 hours a week, and I do that through some pretty solid work-life boundaries. And those 3 things are just tried and true foundation for being able to take some time off. So number 1, decide in advance. Number 2, communicate it clearly with everyone that needs to know. Be bold. Don't be afraid. Communicate it clearly. 2B, you got to stick to it yourself, or you're just going to reinforce that you're not really serious when you said that anyway. And then 3 is mitigate last minute issues by working well in advance. Okay, I hope this has been helpful, and I hope that you take it and you just implement one little thing. Maybe that's deciding on a start time, deciding on a stop time, deciding to take Fridays off for the rest of the year. Highly recommend that. Deciding to take some vacation, but just make one small change as a result of what you now know. I know you probably already knew this, but then just consider this a little encouragement to make it happen. And I hope that you enjoy your next 3-day weekend that you set for yourself as a result of this little helpful tidbit, 3-item tidbit on how you can establish work-life boundaries. Okay? I will see you guys later.